Access granted.
Hey everybody, this is Ethne Ta from The Gamer Access. If you were searching for an open world RPG that offers plenty of action, ample amounts of customization, lots of exploration, and endless single player game time, you obviously would have bought Skyrim. Now there is a new game from Capcom that does these same things. It's called Dragon Dogma, and it can be viewed as the Japanese take on the genre. It introduces some new ideas to the field to try and become more than just another standard fantasy adventure. But is it enough to stand out? The story begins with a giant red dragon appearing out of a portal over the sea and flying hastily towards the mainland. Your character is enjoying a lovely day at the coast of town when the dragon shows up and brings havoc to the shoreline. Your character grabs an abandoned sword and attempts to fight the dragon. Clearly this does not work and your character gets knocked down. The dragon proceeds to tear your character's heart out, eat it, and flies off to bring more havoc to the country it grances. Your character survives this encounter despite losing her heart. It is time to head out and slay the dragon, save Grances, and get your heart back. During this journey, you will be joined by companions known as pawns. These people look human but come from an unknown world known as the Rift. They lack willpower but have absolute loyalty to those who are the Arisen. After the first couple hours, the story settles into a plainness that is comparable to eating a straight piece of white bread. Most of the story doesn't have much of a drive to it and just feels mediocre. You help people, stop a cult, slay the dragon, and save Grances. There isn't much that is bad, but there isn't much that is good either. It isn't until you reach the last quarter of story events that the plot suddenly start calling for attention. Suddenly, there are some serious plot points, explanations that hit hard, and the true ending connects with considerable emotion in bittersweet fashion. Most of the gameplay is what one would expect. You can choose from 9 vocations: Fighter, Strider, Mage, their respective advanced forms, and 3 hybrid classes. Dragon's Dogma gives you freedom to change your vocation whenever you want. All it takes is a one-time use of discipline points to unlock the class. These same points are used to unlock and upgrade primary and secondary weapon skills, core skills, and augments. The whole system is relatively simple and easy to understand. On the action side, the controls are quite well calibrated. When dealing with a group of wolves, bandits, or other smaller fights, there's pretty much the usual get in there and slay them. When it comes to something the size of an ogre, staying grounded won't bring it down anytime soon. Dragon's Dogma introduces the very nifty and satisfying concept of actually having to climb the monster to reach its weak points instead of spending the next 20 minutes on the ground whacking at its legs. Cool concept, decent implementation, needs some more work. When climbing, I can't tell if it is in relation to the camera or my character. Another nifty concept is the companion system. You travel mostly with 3 companions. As mentioned earlier, these humanoid looking people are known as pawns. One of these belongs to you, who will always remain by your character's side throughout the adventure. Your pawn is just as customizable as your character, with the exception of not being able to use hybrid vocations. The other 2 companions are other players' pawns. Players who are connected online share their main companions with each other. You decide who of many will travel with you to create a balanced group that is able to take on more difficult fights. Now I'm going to get the bad news out of the way first. The AI pathfinding is simply empty-headed. In addition to getting stumped by a simple ledge, they can fall far behind when you're trying to move quickly. Also, if a pawn gets knocked out for whatever reason and you cannot reach them in time to perform a revive, they disappear for good. The positives in the rest of the AI makes these problems tolerable. Pawns are capable of self-teaching themselves in some ways. They better understand monsters as they fight them. When they travel and finish a quest, they will gain knowledge to serve as guides to other players and yourself. The advice pawns give during battles and quests from this knowledge are actually quite useful and add to the whole teamwork perspective, even if they are just AI. The pawn system works mostly well and is one of the better ideas I've seen come to the genre in a while. Combat difficulty in Dragon's Dogma leans quite a lot on challenging. With a decent group, I did not find the normal fights too difficult. Now, it is almost a completely different story when it comes to boss fights. They can be, and usually will be, brutal. Despite a moderate BS factor, the game's challenging fights do provide a decent amount of reward. Armor, weapon, and equipment management is, well, it isn't that different from other established games of the genre. There is a slight annoyance of not having a shared party inventory and the slight benefit of the shopping cart to checkout system when trading with merchants. There isn't much else beyond that. It is a little difficult to describe the visuals. The art direction does not have a particular definitive theme to it. It is medieval fantasy, well enough, but it does not feel distinct. Everything's rendered alright, and the regions do feel varied, but again, it does not feel very distinct. It is smacked on average on the art and tech level. The soundtrack feels almost as dead on average as the visuals. Likewise, there is nothing really bad I would say about it, but it mostly does not stand out. There are a few epic tracks, but during normal gameplay, the music and the use of music does not inspire any passion most of the time. It's just there to do background music adequately. Now is where I start to talk about the smaller details that save Dragon's Dogma from the curse of blandness. First off, there are the tastefully styled menus, which bring flair to something as simple as reading quest descriptions. The combat features ample amounts of visual and audio finesse to the attacks, special abilities, and spellcasting. When night falls, it is literally dark, making it difficult to see anything without light. Every person in Dragon's Dogma is voiced. Every person also speaks in the Old English-esque style, but is easily understandable and adds much needed specialty to Grancis. When a cutscene happens, the subtle camera motions made it feel as if I was witnessing the event myself. And then we return to the soundtrack. As I have said, the music normally does not stand out in any way. However, the few tracks that do catch full attention captivate the moment. Aside from AI pathfinding and a couple design issues, there is nothing glaringly wrong I could find. That being said, there isn't much that stands out as amazing either. Dragon's Dogma is what I would describe as good, but you can do better. The game has long stretches where it just feels unremarkable, but with a few new ideas and very nice details. However, when I do notice these ideas and details, the experience I got from Dragon's Dogma's few standout moments makes this one of the more special titles I've recently played. The journey through Grancis was worth it, and I am scoring Dragon's Dogma an 8.0 out of 10.